What's up, everybody? It's Vicious here, and today I'm going to be, I don't know, I guess I'm gonna respond a little bit to this video. 3D Fighters, where do they go from here? The video is by Smart Fawn. I think at least I think that's what it is. It's SMRT, F as in family, period, O as in octopus, period, N as in Nancy, period. And I'm subscribed to him. I don't really remember too many videos coming across from this guy, but I subscribed to him at some point. So, go check him out. There's a couple of points I kind of wanted to touch on because I feel like some of the things he says are like spot on, and other things I just want to like sort of like throw my opinion in there. I'm not trying to undermine him by any sense of the word. At least I'm gonna try not to come off that way. But anyway, let's go. Make sure his audio is good.
What do you think of the state of 3D Fighter
I'm not going to get the whole video, by the way. I'm going to obviously just like skip around a bit.
Fighters right now in 2021? Not in 2019, not in 2018, but in 2021 in particular.
I'll go ahead and turn this down a bit. That was really loud. Sorry.
What aspects do you think hold back?
Well, let me go ahead and answer that question before we go on. The state of 3D fighting games in 2020, 2021, I think we're in a pretty decent spot. I think all of them are getting their names out there in certain ways. They have different marketing strategies. Tekken by far is the most successful, and I think that has a lot to do with the guest characters. You got Akuma, you got Geese, you got Noctis, Negan. I don't know like how other people's minds work, but the way I think is there are fanatics out there, and there's tons of groups of people who will purchase a game just because they have something related to a series that they like. And I think that Tekken chose a bunch of core franchises for that. If you like Geese, you like collecting KOF stuff, Geese is in Tekken. Akuma is in Tekken. You like Street Fighter, gotta get this because you gotta put this in your collection of Akuma stuff, especially if it's your favorite character. And so on and so forth goes for Noctis. I think that Soul Calibur 6 is in a pretty decent spot. It could do much better though. The thing is, we finally got numbers on Soul Calibur 6, and it sold 2 million copies, or over 2 million copies. And its song is being played at the Olympics, which is great. I think the competitive scene for Soul Calibur is I wouldn't say on life support, but I would say that they're pretty decent. There's an argument of when a game is dead or not. I most certainly don't think Soul Calibur 6 is dead. If you play Soul Calibur 6 on PS4 and you get on in the evening time on Eastern time, there's plenty of lobbies open. There's plenty of people that you can find online and ranked. And I've had locals for Soul Calibur in my state for like ever since it released. Every month or two, every couple of months, you'll see a local, and I'll go to it, and I'll finish. I only finished one. No, I've been top 3 in all of them. Not bragging, but I'm just saying I've been in some of them, and it doesn't seem like it's dead to me. Virtua Fighter, I don't know the state of Virtua Fighter. It seems like it's fizzling out again. I'm on Twitter, and I'm trying to keep myself rooted into some games. Really want to get away from FGC stuff because it's really toxic a lot of times. And there's a lot of toxic VF fans. And I'm not saying this to get back at them, but it seems like interest for that game is fizzling out. Absorption-based net play is basically just delay with like another name. And, the game doesn't really have a lot of good presentation or good UI. So that game, if they can improve some things, if they plan on updating Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown, I think it'd be in a lot better space than what it's in. But right now, I'm just going to go ahead and say that it's not really doing too hot. I don't know anything about DOA, but obviously my man is playing DOA and he has more information on that. Last I heard, and this was years ago, people weren't playing DOA because they were covering up the characters too much, which I think is weird that anybody would come to that, sort of conclusion about a game. But people are they have a big hard on for censorship nowadays. So, yeah. Anyway.
Back 3D fighters. Hello. Hello, Miku Megurine. Is that how you pronounce it right?
Also, I would like to add, we'll
Or is
get
that
to it.
Megurine? Hello, what do you think of DOA 6 on PC? Dead or Alive 6 on PC is fantastic. Compared to Dead or Alive 5 last year on PC, which felt incomplete, Dead or Alive 6 runs well on PC, it looks well on PC, and basically that I'm pretty certain that it was the lead platform for the game. Dead or Alive 5 was such a gorgeous
I hate DOA animations.
game. Oh, yes it is. Dead or Alive 5. Well, either the Xbox One or PS4 version, yeah, it looked really good. Like DOA 5 or a 6.
Let's go a little bit forward.
Following DOA since forever, blind scene or even allowed to be able to play with anyone. Glad to see you can find people on Xbox One.
He's talking about the scene on Xbox basically, and how DOA is moving around in the scene.
Yeah, I would have loved it if Koei Tecmo can give a bit more support to the game, but it's honestly probably from a financial standpoint, it's probably not really very viable. The average video game probably doesn't even get like a year of content, so I've gotten.
I don't know about that. Tekken has gotten multiple years of content. Street Fighter has gotten multiple years of content. Soul Calibur 6 released in 2018, right? This is 2021, and they stopped doing. The last patch was in 2020, so that was 2 years. And then there's DOA 5 had multiple years of content. MK11's had. Well, I'm not getting into 2D games. I'm just getting into 3D games. But he says some other stuff
From 2001 to about 2011ish, 2012ish. Under most circumstances. So, I mean, the fact that the game got over a year of support is actually kind of impressive in itself. And it did technically get a lot of overall content. Like you said, the average video game probably doesn't even get like a year of content. So, I mean, like I know Dead or Alive 5 last round got content for quite a few years, though. Because, I mean, obviously that game sold a lot of DLC money. But, like, Dead or Alive 6 had a lot of, like, kind of negative PR, negative press around the game, though. So, I mean, like... the game kind of struggled out of the gate, and it never really was able to kind of recover that well. It is a shame, because I honestly think it's an utterly fantastic game.
I'm not going to say all of it was undeserved. Probably 80% of what people said about DOA is probably undeserved, but DOA did not run at 60 FPS on PS4 or Xbox One. If you go to Digital Foundry, they'll go over that information with you, but that's not good. When a fighting game doesn't run at 60 FPS, there's something wrong there, and it did not run well on console. So I think it runs better on Xbox Series X, but still is kind of buggy on PS5. And then, if you got a PC, I think it does well enough on PC because, you can always get better parts for your PC or whatever. But DOA did not run at 60 FPS, so just keep that in mind.
It's arguably probably one of the funner 3D fighters to play. That's in my opinion, of course.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I would have loved it if Koei Tecmo can give a bit more support to the game, but it's honestly probably from a financial standpoint, it's probably not really very viable for them. Like, they released 4 season passes for the game. Like, that's still quite a bit of content. No, they did. They gave it a good 2 years and mixed the meta up constantly. Mortal Kombat 11. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember, 2D fighters like Mortal Kombat do tend to have it kind of you're right, like what you call meta mix-ups. So it's like every patch in like a 2D fighter like Mortal Kombat can actually change up the meta quite a bit, where 3D fighters don't get the meta changed up that much from patches in comparison.
I don't know if I go that far. Like, there's some characters in Soul Calibur 6 that went from bottom tier to like damn near top. If you look at Tira in Soul Calibur 6, when she started out in Season 1, she was trash. But as the game progressed on, she's like one of the best characters now. Taki went from like D tier or C tier to like B tier now. Some people might put her in A. I won't. And then there's Tekken, where people have been switching around, like, constantly. Every other patch, there's a move being added that's really good, or there's a move that was adjusted to the point where they're really good, like Lily. People were saying Lily was garbage. Now you see Lily all the time now. Lily got patched within like the last patch of the game, and now she's like A tier, evidently. At least that's what Twitter makes it seem like.
All right, let's see right now.
Not trying to make this
DOA
video
6 on
forever.
PC has local players and even esports players like a Hakball, Ivanov, Hoodless. Oh, you mean Ultima Ivanov? Oh, talking about Ultima. I just ended up... I agree with you, Navi. I actually would say Dead or Alive 6's primary issue, aside from marketing, was that the game released probably about 2.5 months, about 2.5 months before I thought it was really finished. Because after about the mid-May 2019, once they had lobbies fully finished and all that, it was actually a pretty solid game, though. A lot of the complaints of the game, or like legitimate complaints, were based on like the first 2 weeks, where the costume, where for instance the costume grind was ridiculous. I remember at first, and they fixed it after 2 weeks.
Talking about DOA. There's nothing wrong with talking about DOA. I want to make it seem like I'm not trying to hear what he's saying. It's just that I kind of want to like go to like the points where it's more general about general 3D fighters.
Characters, and only the 6 female characters got a lot of costumes, but compared to the average fighting game, I'd say Dead or Alive 6's quantity of costumes is... I'd say it's perfectly respectable, because most fighting games do not have a lot of costumes. Megarine, Mikues, thank you for the...
They might not have a ton of costumes, but the customization is better. Like, you can change colors. Virtual Fighter is like the worst example, because Virtual Fighter doesn't have that much content in terms of costumes. And Tekken, they do have their generic costumes, but the costumes that they do have special for the characters, you can still customize them with the colors a lot better. In Tekken Tag 2 even, you can have custom decals, and you can make generic costumes even more special for Tekken characters. And Soul Calibur, you can put stickers on them in a similar way that they had it on Tekken Tag 2. So yeah, there's a lot of costumes, but there's not a lot of creativity to go along with that. This isn't really like a critique. I'm sorry if it sounds like it is, but yeah, you get a lot of costumes, but you don't get a lot of options. At least from what I understand. I don't have DOA 6. That might have changed. I could be talking out my ass, and I apologize.
Follow. Played DOA 2, 3, or 4, and you'll... When? Not even 2 weeks into January, like January 11th or something. And then the second beta was like I think the last weekend of, I think, Ultimate got arcade releases, like, well, in Japan, for instance. They ended up getting those, like, after the main games had released. Where Tekken had, what, like 2.5 years to fine-tune its game in the arcade? Like, let me try and remember. So January 2015 was when the Tekken 7 was in the arcade, and then it released in June 2017, so that's like 2.5 years to tweak it. The only downside of that is I really kind of hate the way how arcade ports look of games. Like, they can look pretty ugly, though. You got. Thanks, RB, for your faith.
I don't think Tekken applies to that, though.
The problem with the DOA players are the free-to-play people with garbage connections, at least on Xbox. If I think Ultimate got arcade release, pretty sure I could hear the collective groan from over here. From Love Live, so I mean, now we know where we get the inspiration from. I actually personally like how Tamaki looks.
This is...
4 DOA characters are going to be making an appearance in the game. If I in Virtual Fighter, would you like to see Dead or Alive characters in Tekken? Would you like to see DOA characters go back in time and make an appearance in Soul Calibur? Because I would absolutely love to use a character like Ayane in Soul Calibur and using my spin-based zoning and spinning around and everything in the game in Soul Calibur. Be so dope.
I actually would like to see some DOA characters in Soul Calibur. I think that's something that 3D fighters really need to sort of focus on a little bit more. Is like a little bit of if you're gonna like do guest characters, I want guest characters from 3D games. There's nothing wrong with 2D games, but can we boost other games up so we can make 3D fighting games like a more of a recognizable thing? Capcom and SNK had SVC and CVS. You know, back in the day, how come we haven't had Soul Calibur versus something yet? Soul Calibur versus DOA or Tekken versus Virtua Fighter. That would be interesting, but you know, it seems like they have some sort of ego or something.
Even Ayane in this costume right now, she's so good. I just love this ninja costume. Dead or Alive 6 does have a lot of unblockables. Advantage that Tekken has. DOA
What's
to
up?
just use like a super chat or something, even if it's like a little amount or something like that, because it puts the question to the top for me. Advantage that Tekken has. DOA massively suffers from content creators. Another thing that's even worse than not having content creators are people that talk shit about the game or don't say positive things. I have tried my best to try and be positive, not be negative about it, or I do try
He's
and
right.
keep it real when I can. But yes,
He's right.
the lack of positive vibes is, I think, what hurts the game more so than the actual game itself.
This isn't just a DOA thing. Not trying to undermine what he's saying. He's completely correct. You know, you got a lot of people making light of DOA, and I'm ashamed to admit that I've been one of those people at one point. But, you know, there's a lot of animosity amongst 3D fighting game players. I don't know why that is, but it's very childish. You got Tekken players that think they're superior because they play Tekken, so that, you know, they shit on Soul Calibur, which is like a sister series. Even though, you know, I guess Michael Murray and Harada said some shit about Tekken Tag 2 almost killed the series because it sold less than 2 million within the first year. You know, fuck whatever it sold 4 years later down the line. It could have sold 2 million or 3 million. We'll never know because we never got those numbers really. And it's never been official. So we'll never know. But, you know, they almost died. And Soul Calibur, I guess, almost died a couple times. But come on, man. Can we just, like, all get along? I'm sick of people saying I would play Soul Calibur, but the netcode is trash. Like, the netcode isn't even fucking trash. We got to get this out of our heads that because a game comes with delay-based netcode, it's automatically bad. Just stop fucking trying to play people half a world away. You know, there's people from North America trying to play people in fucking East Africa talking about the connection is bad. Like, bro, I learned back in 2009, if you want to play somebody, you got to gauge what type of game you have and how good the net play is. Back when Tekken Tag 2 came out, Tekken Tag 2 was one of the best net play experiences you could have. It was that and Persona 4 Arena and Blaze Blue Calamity Trigger. They get shit on nowadays because games with rollback came out, but you have to understand there is such a thing as compartmentalizing, and you have to, in these games' case, is unfortunate. You have to prioritize your net play to like 4 bars and up, and that's not going to keep you from playing people. If you get on Soul Calibur right now, set the priority to 4 bars and up, and go to practice mode, and wait for a match to come up, you'll have a match within maybe a couple of minutes in the daytime. In the evening time, you'll have a match very soon. You won't even get to practice what you set out to practice. You know, so I think that something we should really focus on is stop, you know, weighing so heavy on if it has delay and rollback, and just say that the game is fun. If the game is fun, just say it's fun. Say you can play it with your friends. Say you can play it at a local. Say you can play it with people around your area regionally, and just leave it at that. You don't have to even mention rollback. And I think that's something that really hurts 3D fighting games right now. It doesn't hurt Tekken because Tekken obviously is king because it sold so much and it has so many guest characters from so many games and fanatics from those series that they just want to keep getting the games. You know, I think Tekken's in a very good space. As a matter of fact, they say Tekken 7 or Tekken 8 or Tekken Tag 3, whatever they want to do, they say that shit has rollback. It's going to sell a lot more. But if they say it's still delay based, you think those fucking 10% of motherfuckers online that really are that serious about the fucking net play are going to fucking not buy it? You're crazy. They're going to buy that shit or get it for free, or they're going to get it on discount. You know? I'm not saying that they shouldn't try and get rollback implemented. Rollback is good, but can we stop fucking shitting on the devs and just let them do their shit? You know? Let them do their shit. Stop shitting on games and telling people games are bad because they don't have rollback, and stop killing your own franchises. I think that's an important thing that people need to hear.
We'll never forget the joy felt using Hitomi and getting wins. F rank was a great. The fact that I really preferred it when the costume sets were original ones. Like back the net codes, well, outside of Japan, and I think that has hurt fighting games a lot, though. That's why Guilty Gear Strive getting roll.
You know, the netcodes outside of Japan thing, I don't like that argument, because if the netcode outside of Japan is bad, like, that makes no sense. Why don't we just play within the U.S.? You know, there was a point where that was all we had. You know, I don't understand that argument. Like, I get it, kind of, but I don't understand, like, why we had to play people in other countries so bad when there's eager people playing within our own countries. I'm not saying that you should prioritize that. Obviously, it's not optimal, but would it be so bad if we just played people within our own countries regionally and got decent connections with them, and we don't have to, like, complain about it? We just slightly adjust to it. You know, I played in a local for Guilty Gear Strive on PS4, and that has less input delay by like a single frame or some shit than the PS5, which I play on. Was I disadvantaged? I didn't complain about it at the tournament. It just is what it is.
Rollback is a big thing, even though Killer Instincts had rollback for like almost 8 years now.
Killer Instincts had rollback, but that's another thing that I like to say. Rollback isn't always good, and no matter who you connect to, it doesn't mean that it's going to be perfect. I've had rollback in Guilty Gear Strive, which is the best rollback experience I've ever had, and I've hit people. I've seen the KO screen. It's rolled back into a fight, and they've hit me, and it's rolled back into a fight, and the result has changed in both scenarios that I'm talking about, and that's not great. And it's really bad in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom. That's happened a lot in Ultimate for me. Not Ultimate, fucking Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. And Third Strike was one of the first rollback games on PS3. Its neck play was not that good, and neither was Skullgirls on PS3. I don't care what anybody says. I played Wired on both of them, and I fought people. It was not a good experience. Now, coming from the PS4 era rollback, they really improved it, and it'll make you a believer. But guys, you can't trust because a game has rollback that the net play is good. You just can't do that. Because then, what if they have bad rollback like Tekken 7 does? They say they have rollback, and they do. I've seen rollbacks in Tekken 7 since launch. It's not good rollback, though, because it's still delay in it. And I've had some delay in Strive when I've been on bad connections. So you have to experience all this for yourself, for sure. But don't just believe because something is rollback, you're going to have the best connection of your life, and it's just going to be like playing somebody in your living room. That's not the case.
IMS minus DO6,
But I digress. Rollback is still good. Rollback is better than delay base. Before people get in the comments, it is optimal to get rollback. Just don't believe when you get rollback, it's automatically going to make your experience perfect.
DOA6 is the best defense to come back from a fight. DOA6 is Jedi Fallen Order game, so they're really good American developer. Giving you a variety of characters. You have your ninja Kasumi, you have your karate girl and second best waifu Hitomi,
Here he's going
and then you have your brawler Diego, and you have a heavyweight grappler in Bass. There we go. I might look into Virtual Fighter, but scared of being a bandom like DOA6. When is bike?
Yeah.
Good question. I was wondering about that because even though my Cham Cham guide was a little kind of quiet in terms of reception, I am open to doing more Samurai Showdown guides. But yeah, Samurai Showdown seems to have. I think Samurai Showdown might be struggling with following more than DOA 6 in my experience. But
yeah, Samurai Showdown has like the worst netcode, one of the worst netcodes I've ever played in. I played Soul Calibur 4. I played Tekken 5. I've played multiple games with bad net play online. Samurai Showdown is one of the worst. It's like almost as bad as KOF 13, to be honest. It's not good. Yeah, but what was he saying a little bit earlier?
I'm open to doing more Samurai Showdown guides. Let you play Jago or something like that. Even though my Cham Cham guide was a little...
He said something
even though
about it.
Waifu Hitomi, and then you have your think Samurai Showdown might be struggling.
Damn it.
Even though my
It was right before that,
PlayStation
whatever.
Plus. So that has brought in quite a bit of people, but I will state right now that how that game is overall, quite frankly, is not sufficient for basically maintaining growth or anything like that.
Thank you.
Like,
Yeah, I agree.
mechanically, the game is it's the most solid fighting game ever, but it wouldn't be completely unrealistic to say that. I'll just say straight up, I think Dead or Alive 6 is a better overall game than Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown.
I agree. I don't even own Dead or Alive 6. Let me touch back on a pint, a pint of beer. Let me touch back on a point real quick. Maybe I spoke a little bit too fast, and I didn't really think about what I was saying. You should encourage developers to get rollback netcode. Don't misconstrue what I was saying. You should encourage them to get rollback netcode by telling them, if you don't put this in the game, I'm not going to buy it. That's a little whack. You know, like, if you don't enjoy it, just don't buy it. It's whatever. They'll see it and they'll go from there. If we say this politely enough and we say it in a way that is conveyed in like, I don't know, just a civilized way, I think that they'll listen to us. But if you just say, I'm not gonna buy it, like, they can just call you an asshole and they'll ratio you on fucking Twitter, just like Harada does. Harada was like, rollback is a buzzword, and look at his game, it sold 7 million copies.
Ultimate Showdown has the best overall mechanics, but that's the only thing it really does well. It struggles on every other front, in my opinion.
Virtua Fighter struggles on every other front because there's too many things that Sega got wrong with it. And I'm sorry if, Virtua Fighter fanboys, fuck you guys, by the way. Not Virtua Fighter fans, fanboys. Fuck you guys. You guys think every 3D fighting game sucks and isn't as good as Virtua Fighter, and then look at the shit after like a month of release. Nobody's really playing that shit. Nobody's tweeting about it. Nobody's doing shit. But back to my serious portion where I'm not trying to get at people. So Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown. Okay, if you look at other games, Dead or Alive has a lot of costumes, right? Dead or Alive has a lot of costumes, waifus that you can get into, right? There's Tekken, a lot of costumes, a lot of customization. Soul Calibur, costume customization. Virtua Fighter, you have to pay a premium of $9.99 if you didn't get the free version of Virtua Fighter Ultimate Showdown. And the Virtua Fighter Final Showdown came with customization. I just want to add that. And so did Virtua Fighter 5. The two PS3 versions of Virtua Fighter came with customization. And Virtua Fighter is not a series that's not plagued by a lot of bullshit. I just want to clarify, because if you go back and look at Virtua Fighter 5 on PS3, there's no net play. There's net play for the 360 version. There's two different discs for it. But Virtua Fighter 5 did not have net play on PS3, so you just had to play that entirely offline if you had PS3. But you had some bullshit customizations. I'm not going to lie, they were all terrible. Final Showdown added a lot more, and Final Showdown had DLC customizations, which one I took part in because they were selling Final Showdown for like $15 when it came out, right? And you had to pay for everything else. So I was like, all right, I'll throw a dog a bone. The customization wasn't good, and there was hardly any offline modes. That's something that I think 3D fighters need to look into. Stop skimping out on offline modes, because we got games like Tekken 7, which hail from Tekken 6 and Tekken Tag 2, which had team battle, survival, time attack, and what else did it have? It had some besides that. Time attack, team battle. Ghost Battle, they basically have that in Tekken 7, but it had all those features, and they're gone in Tekken 7. And there was Scenario Campaign in Tekken 6, which was an upgrade to Tekken Force, and they don't have that anymore. Soul Calibur 6, its best offline mode was Chronicles of the Sword back in Soul Calibur 3. And also Weapon Master was interesting. You don't get either of those in Soul Calibur 6. You got some other mode that's kind of similar, but not the same. So I would say give us more modes. That's where everybody lacks. But specifically, if we're going to talk about Virtua Fighter 5, Virtua Fighter 5 doesn't have anything that it should have in this generation. right? There's no good way to get a room. You had to have a password. The password doesn't work, or at least it didn't work when I was playing, which was basically 2 weeks of Virtua Fighter 5 every here and there. And I couldn't get a room with my friend. We struggled to like play each other in a private room, and the UI is bad. There's no customization. You have like an arcade mode, but there's no story. There's not even like anywhere you can get history on the game. It's so bare bones. Like, imagine turning on a game and you have like 4 choices. It's like you go to arcade, you go online, you go to practice, and you go to options. You don't even get customization. So Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown, if you want to look at a reason why it's not as popular as some of the fanboys might make you think it is, those are reasons. Bad presentation. The game looks good, but it's presented so poorly. There's so many things that they can improve on to bring Virtua Fighter into the century. And, it's not like... or into this decade. It's not like I dislike Virtua Fighter. I actually quite enjoy it. Brad Burns is my guy. Vanessa was complicated for me, but in Final Showdown, I was playing with her a bit. But Jesus Christ, like there's so many things that they just don't understand.
Dead or Alive 6 also kind of looks better than everything else in terms of visual too.
I can't really speak on that. Dead or Alive 6, I guess it looks good. I don't know if I'd say it's like the best looking 3D game I've ever seen. 3D fighting game, that is.
Oh, you're talking about Among Us? It is a game who had the same momentum as Apex last year. Basically a mobile in the game. I've heard of that, and I've also heard of a game also called free on PlayStation Plus, which I think is by next month. As of right now, Virtua Fighter I think is doing fine. It's what now, about 7 weeks old, turns I think maybe 8 weeks old next week, I think. Like, Virtua Fighter did great for the first 2 weeks, and then, yeah, it definitely kind of slowed down.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. Like, I've argued with Virtua Fighter fanboys on Twitter. I told them, I like Virtua Fighter, but stop shitting on my favorite games. Stop saying stop saying Soul Calibur is bad. Stop saying Tekken is bad because they don't have the same mechanics. And then we turn around, and then, it's like fucking 50 people viewing Virtua Fighter 5 at peak daytime, And it's like, oh, we got 80 people actually. It's 80 people in like peak daytime. It's like 50 at like night or like in the AM. And Soul Calibur has less people viewership wise, but Soul Calibur 6 has been out for 3 years, and its viewership is still, at least it still has some viewership and it has some people trying, and it's had more people creating content within the 3 years than Virtua Fighter has had in the past, like 10 years, really. I want you guys to point out to me Virtua Fighter, like, who has been making content for Virtua Fighter consistently, and what kind of content is it? Do you get memes from Virtua Fighter? Do you get anything entertaining like, oh, well, here's the frame data, here's this tech, outside of like a secret, like a very small Discord group or in an FAQ? Like, you don't see that. I don't think Virtua Fighter 5 is doing well at all. As a matter of fact, mark my words, by this time next year, I think Virtua Fighter 5 is done. And if they don't come out with Virtua Fighter 6, Virtua Fighter is in trouble.
Sadly, VF got Ono Darkstalker streaming. As some people probably know, I want to like VF. It's just that I just wish that Sega would have more faith in the game. Don't release Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown. Release Virtua Fighter 6. You already released Final Showdown. That game did not do as well because it was just more Virtua Fighter 5 after 6 years. When you release Ultimate Showdown, that is just more Virtua Fighter 5 after 15 years.
That's a very good point. Like, that's more concise than anything I said. Stop releasing Virtua Fighter 5, make Virtua Fighter 6. Give that team that handles Virtua Fighter a good budget. I mean, you guys are swimming in money off of all the Sonic merch. Go ahead, man. Distribute those funds throughout the entire company.
Although this is going to sound ironic.
And Yakuza.
I know that it's, even after 15 years, it's still the most solid 3D fighter. You know, that feels like I'm throwing shade at every fighting game, but it's the most...
I don't agree with the most solid 3D fighter, but like, for several reasons, but go ahead, King.
But then, The mechanics are a start. You have to do everything else. I know this sounds kind of sad, but the area that Virtual Fighter struggles in is honestly what I feel Dead or Alive mostly does well to an extent. Visuals, graphics, sense of style. Although I do admit that DOA struggles a bit with presentation also. Like, it's got the visual part down. It's got the kind of... I don't know if saying hype matches is the right thing, but it has the potential for exciting matches.
It does have the potential for exciting matches. I wouldn't say visually is the best because look at all those animations Ayane did, and none of them look good. None of them look like they're humanly possible. Like, not even like in a superhuman exaggerated way. They just look like, why is she spinning so fast off of like zero motion? It's like she went from nothing to like you know how Yoshimitsu does his like little what is it in Tekken? It's been so long. It's like down forward. No, I think it's down back 3-3-3-3-3 on the ground. Like, she does that, but she does it spinning super fast, and it's like, okay, Yoshimitsu spins fast, but I get it, he's a cyborg. She's just spinning fast off of like zero energy, no kinetic energy needed.
Oh, excuse me. Samurai Shodown is a good game. It's just many people bash the game like Max.
It is a good.
Samurai
Samurai Shodown is a good game, but the online is like some of the worst you'll ever play. And I know I said that about Soul Calibur and everything, but in Soul Calibur it's actually real. Soul Calibur isn't that bad online. You can adjust to Soul Calibur. Again, I've been to multiple locals and I've played people regionally, and I am not that much worse off for playing online. Now, when you play Samurai Shodown, you're worse off because the lag is too great. Like, if we're talking about, like, in terms of frame, you might have, like, several frames, like, probably, like, 7 frames of lag in that game or some shit.
Kind of take Maximilian with a grain of salt. His opinions are his opinions, and, of course, I mean, I respect that. He's a huge YouTuber. He can say whatever the hell he wants, and he's also a fan of Killer Instinct, which is good, but, when someone like Maximilian craps on a game, that's really bad. That's basically like the
I agree.
Influencer effect. Whereas what you want to do is have a lot of positive...
Look at that spinning move.
What you want to do is have a lot of positive influencer endorsement. But as soon as you have people talking crap about the game, that's like the anti-influencer. And that's like a huge negative against the game. If I'm not mistaken, I think people...
That is a very good point. I would like to say this about Maximilian. I don't hate Maximilian, you know, get your money and everything, but there's a lot of things about Maximilian when it comes to fighting games that are generally like just either fake or, you know, they're very questionable. Like, I don't care how you get your money, but, you know, you can't come up in my house getting all these like good treatments from the devs and then you just get in here and you just leave. Like, that's just it's a little rude, and it makes me like question the devs, like, what are they thinking? If you want an example, so I'll make this quick because I'm gonna finish this video up. It's been going on way too long as it is. Tekken Tag 2. I remember seeing Maximilian. It was Maximilian and Level Up Your Game. Maximilian, Rip, and MYK. They got an early preview of the game, and I remember Maximilian saying this is his favorite game since Tekken 3. This is a scrub quote. I hate that. I hate when people say this is my favorite game since Tekken 3, because Tekken is not a fucking joke, you know? You can't just be like, it's like, even if you played the other games and you just like Tekken 3 or whatever, that's a fucking joke thing to say, you know? Tekken 4, while it may not have been like the best game, Tekken 4 pushed the story to new heights. Tekken Tag was basically Tekken 3, but more characters. So how the fuck could you not like Tekken Tag more than Tekken 3? I'll never understand that. Maybe music, I don't know. But music was, in my opinion, better in Tekken Tag. Then you got Tekken 5. Tekken 5, that's when, you know, because Tekken 4 was broken, that's when Tekken players got, you know, really more into Tekken than they ever been, because the mechanics were solid, especially in Dark Resurrection, from what I understand. I don't know, I wasn't involved in the scene like that. Excuse me. But, yeah, I don't see how a person could, you know, just discount Tekken Tag, Tekken 4, Tekken 5, and Tekken 6 even, just to be like, Tekken 3 is the best game since Tekken 3 because it sold 9 million copies. It's like a layup fake response, you know? It'd be like if there was like sequels of movies and you just shit on the sequel that nobody really watched like that, and you're like, oh well, yeah, this is my favorite one since the first movie. Like, all right, whatever. I mean, what did you dislike about the other ones? You'll never hear that out of somebody like him, and that's just how it is. Same way with Persona. Maximilian liked Persona 4 Arena, but he didn't like Ultimax like that. He dropped it after a couple weeks. I think that's when he started promoting Killer Instinct, so I'm like, all right, player, whatever. But it had an effect on Persona, I think. I think people were just like, it's a throwaway game. Max isn't playing it. That's how influencers work. And to give you more context about the Tekken thing, he said the same thing about Tekken 7 before Tekken 7 dropped, by the way. He said, Tekken 7 is my favorite game since Tekken 3. I hate that. I know a guy like that who's like fake enthusiast. I don't like that. Be honest, Be honest. Talk about the things you like and don't just mention bullshit phrases like, oh yeah, Law, his flip kicks. Like, that means nothing to us, and it means nothing to anybody, but that you're interested in it. Like, at least be passionate about what you do, is what I'm saying. And if you want access to shit, early access, at least make sure you're going to be interested in something. That's all I want. I don't hate you, Max. I think that, you do great things for games. And their reputations. I think you did decent for Dragon Ball FighterZ, even though I think they could have gotten somebody better to show off the game. Somebody who, could make Z Broly seem like Z Broly was really good instead of like, getting clowned on by the chat for not knowing how to play Dragon Ball Fighters and shit. That was embarrassing. If they had Hell Pockets on there, Hell Pockets would have rocked that shit, but they chose Maximilian. They shouldn't have even chose those two. If you want to be honest, they should have chose somebody from Guilty Gear and Ark's community. Or hell, even Sonic Fox would have been good since he was crushing in that game. Since he crushes in that game. But they chose Maximilian. I just thought that was weird.
Soul Calibur is probably half and half in terms of people either liking it or talking crap about like Soul Calibur 6.
Yeah. That's pretty much it.
What's up, Morgan? I'm not sure if I pointed your name out there. Sorry.
He's right about Soul Calibur. Even though Soul Calibur 6 is the best Soul Calibur game ever made, literally the most coherent moveset, the flashiest fucking moves, the best fucking mechanics. Like, the only mechanic I'm a little iffy on in the game is guard break, and that's only because the way certain characters work, it works it in their advantage like way too well.
I hope there's no free to play for a possible Dead or Alive 7. Do all the mechanics right, and just to change, with regards to net, is technically overpriced. The reason why is because I feel that there's two, especially in Dead or Alive 6 compared to.
Did he mention something about
Virtual Fighter Ultimate Showdown, not releasing the rollback, was just a huge kick in the balls for the game and to the VF community. Releasing 11 days between Guilty Gear was that's just dumb marketing in my opinion.
It's dumb marketing, and the absorption based netcode was a good sham, but that would be a good sham if you released the game for like $20. Then that would have been a great sham. You would have gotten easy, quick $20. People would have been like, what's this absorption based? Because people were giving Virtua Fighter 5's net play praises, if you remember, and they got called out for it like a week later.
Handle it on DOA 6's engine.
I'm going to try and wrap this up.
It's now the Cannon brothers in charge, but yes, that's the unfortunate downside about having a smaller pool of players, though. I mean, way to say when a game's there. Like, for instance, they said when they were stopped doing Dead or Alive 5 content, and people say, oh, dead game. They stopped doing new content for Dead or Alive 6, and then people are like, oh, dead game. It's like, it's just saying that they're just stopping content. The game is dead when people stop playing it. Remember that, people.
Okay, just a closing thought. We need to stop talking about how dead other games are, because it doesn't do anything but hurt the game. When you tell somebody that a game is dead, they automatically think that there's no reason to pick the game up, because the main reason you would pick a game up is to play with people, especially when it comes to fighting games. Now, it's okay to let people know what the player base is looking like Samurai Showdown. It's... How do I phrase this? So, Samurai Showdown and let's say King of Fighters 13. Let me just be a fucking complete literal dick about it. Alright, King of Fighters 13. I'm guessing nobody's playing that game. right? If there's 10 people in the world playing that game, some people be like, it's not dead. That's kind of like how Virtua Fighter was. But I would not tell somebody to play or buy a game that only has 13 people in the entire world playing it and pretend like it's alive, because there's some scene that we don't know about and like half a world away playing this game, and it's like 40 people in that city playing the game. You know, games are dead when you get on and the variety of people that you see on there is at bare minimum. If I get online right now and on Soul Calibur, it's only one room filled with 2 people and they're S2 ranked and they both play Amy, that game's dead. I don't care what people say, the game is dead. But because that's not the case, I don't label it as dead. And excuse me, because there's like, you know, multiple people playing on in the evening time, in the Eastern time, the game's not dead. Check it out. It's a fun game, has decent story, blah, 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 you know. But I don't think that we should just call games dead because we wake up in the morning time one day and it's only 2 lobbies open when people are at work or at fucking school. That's ridiculous. But I think that's it for this video. If you stuck around this long, please like, share, and subscribe. If you want, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to this dude. His name is Smartphone. SMRTFON. And yeah, show your support. Later.